year is no longer a new year. We are well on our way with 2025. So if you're joining us for the first few times, my name is Betty OLOO and longtime Neolife distributor, and always very glad to be able to spend this time with you speaking about our Neolife products and how to position them to better be able to help the people who come to us for assistance. So let me invite you to sit back for the next 1 hour and join us with what we have prepared for you today. You will have seen from your invite that the topic is going to be immune support for the products session. And I think that this is a topic I've been looking forward to discuss, especially because we have already had a number of Q&As for 2025, and in quite a number of them, I've been observing that the importance is becoming more and more important because of the issue of autoimmune illnesses. So, with many of the questions deal with autoimmune illnesses, and one of the ways in which we deal with autoimmune illnesses is to support our immune system so that it functions well. So, the first thing I wanted to mention is that what actually our immune system is. If you recall from your high school biology, you remember that the immune system can be compared and the Ministry of Defense. That is the departments that deal with making sure that we are protected, but also making sure that those who belong within the body are the only ones who are allowed to stay within the body. So the immune system, when it's functioning well, is able to identify the body's own tissues as opposed to invading tissues which are foreign to the body, and they then would be able to get rid of them. So that, in a brief way, is what our immune system is all about. It is there to protect us from invading microbes and chemicals, but also there to protect us from these invaders. We know that our first line of protection is usually our skin, but of course, we have got a number of areas which cannot be protected by the skin, and that is our breathing system, because we do need to breathe, and also our digestive system, because we take food from outside and we put it into our bodies. So, because of that, it means that even though the skin is our first line of defense against the external substances coming into our bodies, we need another protection system for those maybe microbes or elements that can come into our bodies either through the breathing system. Maybe some can even manage to get in through our skin, and those that get in with our food and drink. So the immune system actually has two components. And the first is referred to as the innate one. This is the inborn immune system with which we are born. And in terms of immunity, it's our first line of defense because it provides us with the ability generally to respond to any invaders. It's the one that knows who belongs and who does not belong and protects the body from invaders. So that is the general side of it. Then we've got the second one, which is called the adaptive immunity. And the adaptive immunity is more specific. What it does is that it targets specific invaders, especially if you can think about all the infections you've ever picked up and recovered from. So think about the flus that you have got. Maybe you have got other infections, and your body has been able to fight them, and you have recovered. Then what this adaptive immunity does is that it keeps a memory system, sort of like a record of these microbes or invaders that you've ever fought before. And if they reappear again, they're immediately able to be fought and removed from our system. So those are the two components. other of these illnesses. And of course, you come across those viruses later on, and your body is then able to fight them. So that is a beautiful system that protects us. And where would this system be located exactly? So the immune system is not located in one spot, it is distributed in different parts of our bodies. First, I'll mention the white blood cells which circulate in our blood circulatory system. So that is one group of cells belonging to the immune system. So our white blood cells are part of our immune system, but they circulate in the blood. Then we have got the bone marrow, which is another place where these cells are manufactured and also kept. Then we have the lymph nodes. So we have got a number of these nodes. They are like little balls. And if you've ever got a sore throat, maybe you remember that you also get a pain under your jaw, and you may feel some round balls or swellings under your jaw. Maybe if you injure yourself on your arm, you may get those swellings in your armpits. So these are what we call the lymph nodes. And what they do is that they are a reservoir for immune cells which fight against microbes that might be close by. So let us say if you have a sore throat, then you will have a response from the lymph nodes around just under your jaw. If you've got maybe an injury on your thigh, you may get a swelling in your groin, which is where the groin lymph nodes are located, and so on. So the lymph nodes are another place where the body keeps immune cells as part of the immune system. Then we've got a gland called the thymus gland, which is quite large when we are small, but within the chest. It grows smaller as we age. And then the biggest part of our immune system, in fact, is located in our guts. So in the intestines. And this, of course, you can imagine is because the digestive system is where the greatest amount of foreign substances come into our bodies because of all the food we eat, the drinks we take. They have the food, but they may also be a reservoir for bringing in invading microbes. So that is a reason why it is beautiful that our immune system is located in our gut. A large number of them. In addition to that, apart from the cells of the immune system themselves, we have our gut microbiome, which I think we have been mentioning fairly often in the past years that we've been having this training. And these ones are not actually part of our body tissues. They are friendly microbes that have evolved to live within us, and they depend on us for food and protection, and in return they help to protect us against harmful invaders. So that is our gut microbiome, which forms part of our immune system as a supporting friendly group, or let's call it an army, or a friendly army that lives in our gut and helps us to fight invaders when they come in. And so even though they are not part of our own tissues, we have a very good reason to support their life and their numbers so that they can support us also in having a strong and robust immune system. So those are the places where our immune system is distributed. So you can see it's in a number of different places, but all of it is well organized to perform the work of fighting for us. Then the third point I have is just to mention a few mechanisms of how our immune system works. So what happens is that the immune system has different ways of remembering the alien tissues that enter our body, of killing them, of tracking them, and of finding them. So almost like if you can imagine the police with their investigators, with their records that they keep of criminals and so on. It's actually quite interesting. So I'll give a few examples. We have the white blood cells that I mentioned, which circulate in our blood, in our blood circulatory system. There are many ways of killing these microbes. Some of the white blood cells engulf them and eat them up. Some of them produce chemicals that cause the invaders to clump together and not be able to move around our bodies, and so on. Then the other group we have are the memory cells, which keep a record of infections that we have fought successfully and recovered from. And they are able, when those microbes come back again, they are able to neutralize them very rapidly. So that is how we say we are immune to something. That even if we get, let's say, something like a cold or a flu with a virus that we've experienced before, we'll be able to fight it off very fast and recover quite quickly when our immune system is working well. Then we have others like the T cells, which are made in the bone marrow but migrate to other parts of the bodies. These are not only able to kill unfriendly invaders, but they can also kill some of the cancerous cells that might be developing in our bodies. Then, of course, I've mentioned the other ones, which are the gut microbes, which are very many, and what they do is when they are many and healthy, they keep down the population of unfriendly microbes that might be trying to proliferate in our bodies. And so those are some of the ways in which the modes of working in with which the immune cells operate to protect us. And that is why it is an important thing not to insist that the doctor gives you antibiotics if you don't actually need them. So when you see your doctor, I know that there are people, doctors have mentioned sometimes that some people don't feel that they have got their money's value from their doctor's visit if they don't get antibiotics. But remember, the antibiotics are going to kill all the microbes, the good and the bad. So if you need them, definitely the doctor will prescribe and you use them. On the other hand, if the doctor says they are not necessary, then you should not feel that you have not been treated, because antibiotics are actually a double-edged sword. Not to say that you should not take them when you need them, but definitely don't insist upon them anytime you visit the doctor. Then, of course, there is a habit that has grown of certain cleaning products that are said to be antimicrobial, to keep yourself and your home very clean and free from germs. It's not necessary to use antimicrobial soap for ordinary cleaning unless you have a reason to think there is some infection running around in your house. You can simply use LDC and Super 10 to clean your house. And only in places like the toilet, you will use something like Care Solution, which is going to kill the microbes that might be causing bad smells in your toilet and so on. But otherwise, we should not make a habit of overusing these antimicrobials and antibiotics, because of the fact that they do kill our friend, the microbes which are our friends, as well as the ones which are our enemies. Okay, then I want to move on to another point. So just to describe a little bit about the autoimmune illnesses and in relation to a healthy immune system. So a healthy immune system has got mechanisms that enable it to distinguish our body's own cells and those which do not belong to our tissues. So they are able to actually recognize the self as opposed to the invading microbe or tissues or that kind of thing. So the normal immune reaction will only occur in response to foreign or defective tissues that might enter or develop in our bodies. So that is when they actually start a reaction. However, an autoimmune reaction is an abnormal reaction. It's an abnormal immune reaction which might be triggered in our bodies by a highly and chronically stressed part of the body. So if you've got some chronic stressor that is attacking our body, then what might happen is that the body will start thinking that there is a harmful substance or a microbe that is there, and start reacting as if there is an infection or an invasion. Whereas, in fact, it's simply that there's a highly stressed part of our bodies. Let me give you an example to illustrate this, just in case it's not coming along very clearly. Think about someone who is living in an area which is, the air is highly polluted. So with every breath of air they're taking in a lot of toxic material. This material is going to get in through the air passages and into the lungs, and is going to cause irritation. So there'll be things like itching, there'll be things like like sneezing and coughing and so on. So if this is going on for a prolonged period, even let us say if someone is a smoker, so that the smoke keeps on coming in and irritating the lungs and the air passages, it can be described as a chronic stressor on the body. And what will happen is that eventually our immune system can start reacting to that, so that you have things like asthma, which can be the result of such an attack, or you can end up with even some cells in the lungs becoming precancerous if you're a smoker because of that continuous chronic irritation caused by the introduction of toxins. On the other hand, it could be that you are taking something in your food that irritates your gut, and you keep on taking this material over and over again. So that can be another example of a chronic stressor, which eventually can cause an autoimmune reaction. And when this reaction persists, that autoimmune reaction, it doesn't become a disease immediately. What happens is that if we continuously trigger off this autoimmune reaction, what is going to develop eventually is an autoimmune illness. So there needs to be that there is a chronic stressor that is happening for a prolonged period. First, it triggers off an autoimmune reaction, that is about the immune system reacting against the body's tissue. And then as time passes, then you have the actual autoimmune illness. So autoimmune illnesses are hard to diagnose because it's the body attacking itself, and they can manifest in a lot of different ways. And what may then happen is that you may think it's this or the other. Maybe you are coughing and you think you have maybe a flu that is chronic, never seems to go away. Or you may have an irritable bowel that you keep on having bouts of constipation, bouts of diarrhea that never seem to go away, even under treatment. That is because the problem is that your immune system is now so triggered that it is actually working against you rather than on your behalf. Also, to mention one or two last points in this section is to say that autoimmune illnesses are more common in women than in men, and more common amongst African and Asian people than in people of Caucasian origin. So we people of African descent and our brothers and sisters of Asian descent would have a greater tendency to have autoimmune illnesses. They also tend to run in families, not that they are genetic, but they may be a tendency of them running in families. Maybe because of probably an extra sensitivity that occurs in certain family lines. And the autoimmune illnesses can also be linked to toxins, and they can be linked to a highly stressful life. Because remember, we mentioned that chronic stress can actually be a trigger of an autoimmune reaction. So now let us turn our attention to something on the more positive side. Some of the lifestyle points that we can make that affect our immune system. Just to say, first of all, that as we age, our immune system can also age. And that means that it will become weaker as we accumulate harmful microbes in our bodies the longer we live. And so we need to take care of the toxin load that we take in. Let us keep that to a minimum. And we should try to support our immune system so that it is able to fight off and kill off any infection so that no residues are left behind. Then, of course, there may be a reduction in the variety and the quantity of our gut microbiome as a result of our dietary choices. Some items in our diet can actually be harmful to our friendly microbes. And also, it could be that we are eating food that does not support friendly microbes, but rather support the harmful one. You will know refined foods such as refined carbohydrates, sugar, and so on. This one support the harmful invaders, while minimally processed food that is rich in fiber and is closer to its natural state will be more supportive of the friendly microbes. So things like pollution, tobacco smoke, these are things that we can try as far as possible to avoid. Because, for example, smoke will irritate our air passages. Things like some food additives can irritate our gut. Certain substances can reduce the variety of microbes that we have. And all these are things which our lifestyle can actually improve on. Then let me see what else. So stress, as we know, there can be a lot of stress in our lives, and you do know we have got a separate topic about stress. But just to say that chronic stress can be harmful to our immune system, and you may have noticed that, for example, if you are going through a very difficult time, let us say there is a bereavement in the family, or something very difficult going on at work or within the family, you may find that you become more susceptible to picking up infections that you otherwise might be able to resist. And so, for that reason, we need to support our immune system by eliminating and resolving stressors as much as we are able to. Another thing that we might not be aware of is sleep. Sleep is very important for our immune system because during deep sleep, our immune system is able to get a chance to repair itself and become more robust, to eliminate worn out cells, and so on. And then lack of sufficient exposure to sunlight can also be detrimental to our immune system because vitamin D plays a very important role in our immunity. And so we should either try to get as much sun exposure as we can. If this is not quite possible, then we should ensure that our diet is rich in foods that provide vitamin D, and also that we supplement. And as I always will remind you, if you have a darker skin, it means that you need more sun in order to make your vitamin D. And if you're living in an area, maybe a temperate climate where the sun is not quite as strong as around the equator, it may be a wise thing to supplement with vitamin D, especially in the winter months when the sun is quite weak. Then, if you work for long hours in an office and are not able to get sun exposure, then you are also in the same category of people who may need to supplement with vitamin D. I've already mentioned about dealing with food issues that can be problematic. So try to avoid sugar and highly refined carbohydrates because they can lead to an illness like type 2 diabetes, which weakens our immune system because this constant high blood sugar actually prevents our white blood cells from functioning properly. Then, what else can I say here? So just to summarize the lifestyle points, a healthy diet will be very important. Spending time in the sun and supplementing with vitamin D or A plus D. Safeguarding the 7 to 8 hours of good sleep. Incorporating exercise and activity in your lifestyle so as to improve your overall health, as well as resolving lifestyle chronic illnesses like high blood pressure, asthma, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and so on. All these, if we use the Neolife products to help us resolve them, are going to support our immune system. So then now let us turn our attention in the remaining time to the products that we will recommend for supporting our immune system. And just as I've said, all of us need to support our immune system because remember, we said this is more common in women, more common in people of African descent. And if we are not getting enough exposure to sunshine, if maybe our diet is a bit westernized, all these are going to be contributing to the detriment of our immune system. And that is why more and more of the questions that we receive dealing not only with lifestyle related illnesses, but autoimmune illnesses. So the first, of course, will be N, our baseline supplement, which makes sure that our cells are healthy so that they can function well. And I always say, even if I forget to mention it, always remember that N is a place to start because everything about our cells starts about our health starts at the cellular level. So 3NN is our baseline. Then we have the next one I will recommend is Neolife Shake, which is a full spectrum of high quality amino acids, which help to supplement our protein intake to make sure that we have all the building blocks we need for building up healthy immune cells. So Neolife Shake will play a role there. If you're someone who is already suffering from an autoimmune illness, and maybe one of the issues you have is you are not able to take a good range of healthy diet, you may find it even more important to include Neolife Shake in your supplements. Then phytodefense, another very important one, is our heavy-duty phytonutrient supplement that contains carotenoid complex, it contains flavonoid complex, as well as cruciferous plus. Of course, you can either buy it as phytodefense or you can buy the components separately, simply depending on how you'd like to do it. So this wide range of phytonutrients support our immune system by cleaning up harmful chemicals that might be accumulating and causing some of our cells to become pre-cancerous. So phytodefense starts even working before we have cancer. We often recommend it as our supplement for people who already have cancer. But remember that by the time we are dealing with the illness, the things have gotten quite far out of our hands. So just keep this in mind and consider maybe from time to time to add phytodefense to your supplementation program. Then I'll add there vitamin C, which is involved in the functioning and repairing of many of the tissues in our bodies. That includes the tissues of our immune system, includes our gut, so that these tissues are in good condition, and that way our immune system functions better. Next, of course, will be vitamin D or vitamin A plus D, which I think I already spoke of just a few minutes ago, to say that it reduces the tendency of developing autoimmune reactions. It does a lot in supporting us in absorbing calcium. It does a lot in our balancing of our hormones and so on. All these can be issues that stressors can bring about. So when stress takes things out of line, vitamin D or A plus D will play an important role in bringing them back into normal. We will also recommend chelated zinc, which plays a role in supporting the where cells are located. So zinc. We can also add omega-3 salmon oil. So omega-3 salmon oil helps resolve inflammation, as does vitamin D as well. So inflammation is usually another two-sided issue. It can be the beginning of the healing process. So for example, if you have an injury, it's going to be inflamed and swollen as it begins to heal. But if we have chronic ongoing inflammation, especially in our body system, let us say because we are reacting to something that we are ingesting, then it becomes one of the things that can trigger our immune system to malfunction. So omega-3 salmon oil, very useful in resolving inflammation. And we can also support that by not making sure we are not making the mistake of bringing in harmful substances into our systems. Then I'll add two other items there. The fiber supplements that supplements our dietary fiber, which we're supposed to be taking in our food, our minimally processed foods. So the fiber tablets and the fiber in our diet supports our gut microbiome, those friendly microbes that live in our intestines, and by so doing ensures that the good ones are increasing in numbers so that they keep down the numbers of the harmful ones. And then finally, we can add garlic allium complex, which is an antimicrobial that will help us to fight off harmful microbes that might have infected our systems. This is not to say that garlic allium will replace an antibiotic if you have got a serious infection. I recommend that you see the doctor so that you get antibiotics. But once you have finished your course of antibiotics, then you can continue your garlic allium to make sure that you mop up any remaining harmful microbes that are there. And it can also help in generally keeping down the population of disease-causing microbes that might be in your system. So those are some of the supplements that we will recommend there. So start with 3NN. You can add their Neolife Shake, Phytodefense. And if you prefer, as you can see, we can also use ProVitality, which will bring us 3NN. It will bring us carotenoid complex, as well as omega-3 salmon oil. So I think that for this evening, that will be the end of my session, just by encouraging you to support your immune system, because as you know, we have the old illnesses, more new illnesses are being found, and we are getting new types fighting to infect us. So the strength of our immune system will often be what stands between us and the next big microbe that comes into being, or some of the old ones that might reappear. Do your best to support your immune system by avoiding junk food, avoiding excessive sugar and processed foods in your diet. Keep as close as you are able to your traditional cultural diet, because this is the diet that many of our peoples were able to survive with, and that is why we are here today, because they were able, even without antibiotics and these medications, to survive all these infections. Today we are so much sicker than they were, because although we have gotten rid of a lot of infectious illnesses, we are not doing so well with autoimmune illnesses and lifestyle related illnesses. This area is where our Neolife supplements will play a very important role, but also our healthy dietary and movement habits are also going to work hand in hand with the supplements to support our good health. So allow me to wish you a good rest of the week, but also to wish you the best as we move towards the last part of the month of February. Remember that every time that we go out to work, we are giving people the opportunity to have a better life, better health, better wealth, and a better overall outlook in life. So let us go out there, because what we are doing is worthwhile and will make the world a much better place for those whom we come across and are able to help. So thank you very much. Pascal is right here beside me to take you through the business part of today's session. So here he is.